Well, greetings, jazz fans. Good morning to most of you. Good afternoon to some of you. It is Brian Zimmerman, again, digital content editor for Jazziz magazine, back with another daily jazz brunch. Thanks for joining us on the Jazz Brunch. We start off on a little bit of a somber note with word of the passing of Ellis Marsalis, phenomenal jazz pianist, educator, patriarch of the Marsalis musical family. We learned early this morning that he passed away at the age of 85 due to complications from COVID-19. So a tremendous loss for the jazz community. And so, we hold this conversation in his honor. And Ellis was such an advocate for jazz education and the passing of jazz and jazz knowledge through the generations, and of preserving the roots of jazz, being blues, swing, and so on and so forth. So I can think of no better guest to kick off this video interview series than my good personal friend, Emmet Cohen. Emmet is a phenomenal pianist. There we go. We're back. And he is most notably the creative force behind his Masters Legacy series, in which he performs with, notable artists of a previous generation. I've got some of his CDs here, and we're certainly going to talk about them. He's performed with George Coleman, Benny Golson, Tootie Heath, and he's doing everything he can to preserve the legacy of jazz, a mission that Ellis Marsalis certainly would be proud of. So on that note, I'd like to bring in our guest, Emmet Cohen. Welcome to the Jazz Brunch, sir. How are you, man?
Hey, Brian. Great to be here. Thanks for having me on here digitally.
Good morning. Good morning. You got a cup of Joe going? What are you drinking today, Emmet?
I got my tea. I haven't been drinking much coffee in these times.
Anxiety, man.
Trying to stay away from caffeine and alcohol.
Yes, it is a good call.
On vitamins and jazz.
It is a good call. I've got the same thing. I've got some golden milk, the turmeric stuff, except I made it with water. So it's disgusting, actually. But apparently it's good for you, so I'm going to keep drinking it.
Good for you.
So Emmet, man, you are kind of a leader in this digital virtual jazz concert space that we're now in. You held a concert last week, yes, from your apartment with your trio, and you've got another one coming up tomorrow, yes?
Yeah. Well, yes. Actually, I'm a sideman tomorrow.
Okay.
Concert. But I was really inspired what I saw with Cecile McLaurin Salvant and Sullivan Fortner. They kind of stepped up and took an initiative to bring music to people in the beginning of this whole thing, in the time of the most uncertainty. Like, what is happening? What is going on? Why can't we go to the jazz club? Why is the NBA closing down? What's happening to Tom Hanks? There was a week in there where everyone was like, "Oh my God, the world is ending." Maybe it still feels like that, but I think they were leaders in that digital stream, and I connected with the stream. So many people connected with their stream. Yeah. I said, "Oh, we got to do this." And I'm lucky enough to be quarantined in Harlem with my trio. We got off the road about a week and a half ago now, from Winnipeg, Manitoba in Canada, and flew back and have been quarantining together since then, and believe that it's our duty to stay together and bring music to these people all over the country who require it and need it, and other people who may just want to tune in and uplift their day. I think there's something to be said for a band playing together, and the unity that it shows.
It's so true, man, because while we have these virtual connections, you find which is great. And it's amazing that the technology has stepped up and we're able to still connect with people, but you just crave that personal connection. I had dinner with my family, we had a Shabbat dinner last Friday, and it was great that we were all on Zoom and you could see the little Brady Bunch pictures or whatnot. Yeah. But at the same time, it makes you realize just how important that the face-to-face physical connection is. So when you see a trio performing together like yours did last Friday, yeah, it's something. So we're looking forward to your performance on Friday. Another one coming up on Monday as well.
It's Monday. The trio performs on Monday at 7.
Oh, okay. Right on, man.
Mondays at 7:30 have become our time. So
beautiful, beautiful. How else have you been staying sane during these crazy times? You got your tea. I know you're a healthy guy. You do yoga. What else you been doing? Watching Tiger King.
My yoga mat on the floor.
The mat is out. Okay, man.
The mat has been out. So
you binge watching Tiger King like everybody else, and
I haven't gotten to much TV yet. I'll say it's only been 2 weeks, and I'm still in an adjustment period, I would say. But I've been connecting with a lot of people and talking on the phone. One person who I connected with is one of my dear friends, Houston Person, sure. And we've talked a few times.
Saxophonist. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of the great saxophonists of all time. And he's 85 years old.
Wow.
And he said, you know what? Musicians are the luckiest people in this time. And I thought, well, we're the unluckiest people. There's no gigs. We're not working. He said, musicians are the luckiest people. We've got music to get us through this. I've been sitting around brushing up on all the old melodies, making sure I'm playing them right. Listening to stuff I haven't gotten to, checking out new records, and it's true. In a musician's mind, there's always something that can occupy. There's always something to work on. There's always a part of your musical spirit to hone and to grow. And it's not like that for everyone. So I think we're thankful as artists to have the music. I've talked to a lot of musicians, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm pulling new music out of the piano bench and putting it up, and getting to stuff that I never would have thought to, and having some time to write music, and just get some new things together." And so in every crisis and every problem, and there's an opportunity too. So although we're not working, and although we're not bringing music to people or traveling, I am lucky to be sitting at the piano and have that to fill my heart and my soul.
For sure, man. And we're lucky that you're sharing it with us. Now, you have a project with Houston coming out, or you've already done it?
We have a band together. We were supposed to be on tour up until last week. We were going to be in the Midwest playing duo, just he and I. We plan to make a record after that. So.
Right. As part of Masters Legacy series?
Yeah. So that's in my mind. That's the next installment would be with Houston Person. But since then, I signed with Mack Avenue at the beginning of this year, and we recorded in January. Yeah. So I also have obligations to do some new creative stuff for Mack Avenue, and I think we have a record coming out in September. With the trio, and I've taken like a direct divergence from the Masters Legacy series, and I'm going with we went with a young band, my trio plus Marquis Hill and Melissa Aldana, which is cool because I've been doing all this stuff with jazz masters, and I kind of wanted to connect with the innovators and forward thinkers of my generation too. To add to what I have with the masters.
Right on, man. Yeah, and we will put a pin in that and get back to that, because I do want to talk about the Masters Legacy series. And a lot of these albums are available now on your website, yes?
Yeah, everything's available, emmetcohen.com. You can go there and find a plethora of albums, and also a cool new exclusive membership site within a membership portal with special unreleased tracks, videos, blog posts, and stuff that's going to be ongoing and updated frequently.
Right on, man. I've got two here. I've got Benny Golson and Tootie Heath with me, and this is George Coleman. But walk me back to the beginning of this project and how this seed was kind of planted for you to record, with these jazz masters, these jazz icons.
The seed was planted in my mind when I first moved to New York. I got a chance to play with the Dizzy Gillespie Alumni Big Band, and the Dizzy Band had playing first tenor saxophone the great Jimmy Heath, and so I was playing piano, and the first tenor is right next to the piano. So we played a few gigs, and then we had this gig on New Year's in D.C. at the Kennedy Center, and so we all took the bus, the whole big band, down to the Kennedy Center, and I sat kind of catty corner from Jimmy Heath, and he told all these stories about lending Charlie Parker his horn and going with him the whole day and to the gig and listening to him, making sure he didn't sell or pawn the saxophone, and then getting the saxophone back and trying to play it in the basement, looking in it, and Charlie Parker didn't leave me anything. I still sounded like I couldn't play anything. That's the stuff he was saying. And, he talked about dinner. He talked about his brother playing with the Modern Jazz Quartet. He talked about Miles. He talked about so many things. And I said, wow, I took jazz history at school. I have read some stuff. I've watched some documentaries. Like, I've never felt the jazz history like that. And then I've also, of course, felt it through his playing. And I said, there has to be a way that I can spend more time around the jazz masters. And then I revised that statement immediately. I said, there's got to be a way that my generation can spend more time around the jazz masters. And so that was really kind of the seed, one of the seeds. And I said, what can I create to bring not only myself, but my entire generation closer to these jazz masters.
Right on, man. Yeah, and what's great about the albums is, not only is there music, but on a couple of them, you include conversations that you are having with these jazz masters, and you could see the transmission of knowledge, the way it was done the old, in the old days of just on the bandstand, sharing stories, sharing ideas. And
I left some banter between Tootie Heath and Benny Golson on that record, but it wasn't so much what they were saying. It was just the pacing and the timing and the speech patterns that I think directly relate to the way they improvise and the way they play and phrase. And I thought there was like a deep comparison there. So I put a little bit of them reminiscing about the old days on the album. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, man. Well, Emmet, hey, you're seated by a piano, and we are hoping that you'll be able to share some music with us. If there's and if you need somebody to jump on bass and play a G blues that doesn't go above third position, or the intro to So What, I'm your guy. But otherwise, I'll probably leave it to you. Okay. We'd be happy to listen, man.
Cool. Play a little something.
Yeah, man. Just riff for a bit, and we'll continue our conversation.
Okay, this is the famous Ellis Marsalis tune called Swinging at the Haven.
Beautiful.
We love you and we miss you, Mr. Ellis.
So true. Yes. Amazing, man. Incredible. Folks at home, you couldn't see behind the scenes, but our video producer had to put my mic on mute because I was doing too much grunting and approval. And I just had permanent stank face going on with those licks. That was incredible, man. Emmet Cohen, thank you very much.
That's a to the great Ellis Marsalis.
Great Ellis Marsalis.
I got a chance to be around and hear and who inspired everyone who played jazz after him.
Absolutely. Absolutely. May he rest in peace.
That's the definition of the master right there.
So true. So true. Emmet, I would love to talk about the new album. We will get back to that now because this is a new signing for you with Mack Avenue Records. And, you are, have a long history as a swing guy, as a bop guy, as playing acoustic piano. I know you do organ, at your smoke residency. You got the organ trio as well. Is the new album going to find you venturing into any new territory in terms of instrumentation, in terms of electronics, anything like that?
It's a combination between or a combination of my love for stride music and early jazz, and the intersection of that with modern jazz, as we call it. In my opinion, all jazz is modern. All art is modern. If you take someone like Pablo Picasso, or you take someone like Cole Porter or Stanley Kubrick, or Shakespeare, or anybody like that, all their art is modern, and when you hear Art Tatum, that's modern. And so I use that word to say, things that the way people consider modern jazz, but it's somewhere of the intersection and pinning those two things together. Marquis Hill and Melissa Aldana, they come from kind of the modern jazz world as we know the term, and Russell Kyle and I come from a place where we studied a big portion of the history of the music, including Louis Armstrong and Fats Waller, Willie Lyon Smith, all that, Pops Foster, Baby Dodds, stuff like that. And so to combine those two things, it's almost like in the kitchen, you can't really invent new ingredients.
Right.
But the way you combine the ingredients and how long you cook the thing, and that's where the originality and the improvisation is. So we've combined an interesting mix of influences for this album, and are excited to present it to the world.
Yeah, man. Is it mostly original material, or?
It's about half and half. It's about half repertoire, as we call it. We'll play something that Louis Armstrong used to play, or famous ballad, something like that. And then I got a couple originals on there. So it's about 5 and 5, I believe.
Okay, nice. And how did you get involved, Marquis and Melissa, in the project? Have you ever played with them much?
I toured with Melissa.
Oh, that's right.
A number of years ago in her band,
right.
And we met and connected and played together a number of times.
That's right.
And Marquis, I guess we met last February when we did a residency at Jazz St. Louis. They had this educational residency, and so we taught for a whole week. It was Russell, Hall, Kyle Poole, and I. Were teaching as a trio, and then they also had Marquis teaching, and then they had Melissa Aldana teaching, and the band played the weekend at Jazz St. Louis, and there was like such a connection between the spirits and the musicians on stage, and everyone complimented each other in this weird way, And I said, if I ever make a record, and need horns, this is going to be my horn section. And then, sure enough, I got the offer to record for Mack Ave, and I immediately thought of them and thought of how great it would complement my other projects. Playing with Benny Golson and George Coleman and Houston, Ron Carter and Jimmy Cobb and Tootie. I thought it would be like a direct evolution from that project down and bring all the stuff that I learned from playing with those guys into my generation. And that's what it's supposed to be about.
Totally. And you can hear the evolution, in Marquis Hill of trumpet through his horn, because he's got a totally unique style. But there's the presence of Donald Byrd, there's the presence of Clifford and all the way back, and ditto for Melissa Aldana. So really looking forward to that project. September, you say?
Yeah.
Do we have a specific date yet, or?
They said the release schedule is 9/11.
Okay. Hey, so be on the lookout, September 11th. And what's the name of the album?
You know what? I'm not authorized to give out any other information at this time, but as we have more information, we'll have to do another interview, Brian.
Album TBD. Cool, man. What have you been listening to while you've been holed up? Anything? Any deep dives through anyone's catalog or?
I'm always listening to music. Just from a piano study, I'm always trying to study something on the piano. So I've been giving Bud Powell a heavy listen, and also I've been listening to Errol Garner and trying to transcribe and learn some of their music. I kind of made a pact with myself that I would do a lot of transcriptions through this time. It's something that all jazz musicians should do to learn the language. But then we tend to shy away from it as life gets busier, and it's something I enjoy doing, and it's something that's so good for the brain too, to try to digest. Especially for the piano, the way the hands work together, the way Errol Garner's hands work together, the way Bud's hands work together. So I'm taking a delve into that. But listening to a lot of different stuff. I was listening to some Don Byas the other day.
Right on.
And just marveling at his sound and his imagination. So when people pass away, we like to listen to their music as well. It's as a way of honoring. So I've been, listening to some Wallace and last night some Alice Marsalis and some Bucky Pizzarelli to follow. Yeah. Mike Longo. I mean, this thing, it's amazing how this thing is starting to touch the jazz community, Yeah, it's crazy. Manu and Mike Longo. But yeah, man, when Emmet Cohen isn't listening to the music, when he isn't shedding, when he isn't diving through the history, what else are you listening to? What? You let anything else grace your ears, my friend? Yeah, I love all types of music. I listen to a lot of Stevie Wonder. Oh, yeah. I'll put James Brown on around the house and boogie to that. Marvin Gaye. I've been into Sam Cooke this week. I like other styles of music too. So, sometimes I'll listen to Broadway, or I just, someone sent me a memoir of a great uncle of mine. His name was Huck Cogan, Maurice Cogan, but he loved Coleman Hawkins so much, and he was around in the 30s. My grandpa's brother, and wow. I never knew too much about him, but someone sent me his memoir, a family member who was putting together a family tree, and I found out that he played with Red Norvo and Mildred Bailey, and he toured with Paul Whiteman, and he basically did all these big band. He did all of the big band gigs in the 30s, which was just a crazy connection. He played with Jack Jenny. I listened to some of his solos, and he's playing like this beautiful tenor saxophone in the style of Coleman Hawkins. And so I've been listening to him too, and delving kind of deeper into my family history of jazz that I never even knew about. So as my father. Were your parents musical? At all? My mom's an artist and she's a sculptor and a photographer. So the creativity is there. My father's very musical. There's been other musical people in his family. Another cousin, Hawk's son, his name is Greg Cogan, and he actually played piano with Lionel Hampton and Buddy Rich. and Joe Morello and some others, of course. So that's it's in my family, even though it wasn't. My parents aren't professional musicians.
Interesting, man. Very cool. Well, I would love to, before we hop off here, maybe spin through another tune if that's cool with you.
Yeah, of course.
Right on, man. I don't know if you want to do something from the new album or anything you were feeling at the moment, but always a pleasure to hear another tune.
Okay, thanks. Let me see what I got.
Yes, beautiful, man. Absolutely beautiful. A consummate jazz man, a consummate professional. I can I tell my Emmet Cohen story of Montreal?
Sure, this is the appropriate way to do it.
A consummate professional. I think it was the first time I met you in person to record a podcast.
We had spoken a lot of times on the phone, though.
Oh, over the phone, but this is the first time in person was to record a podcast at the Montreal Jazz Fest. You were playing at the venue upstairs with Benny Golson. And the only place that they could put us that was kind of away from the crowd chatter was upstairs in the green room. And as we're recording the podcast, we find that the air conditioning unit is so loud that it's coming through the tape, right?
Well, it's also like the middle of June.
It was the middle of June, smoldering hot. I say, Emmet, we can turn the air conditioning off, but we're going to schwitz to death. Let's just call the whole thing off. Not so for Mr. Emmet Cohen. The show must always go on. So upon Emmet Cohen suggested, we just took our shirt offs and did the whole interview shirtless.
Well,
Sun's out, guns out.
I didn't want to come to on the gig with like soaked through my shirt before the first tune. That's never a good look.
It's unprofessional, man. So we got it done. Sun's out, guns out, chest to chest, mano y mano, and I will never forget him. And it was a great interview. It was a phenomenal interview. You can check it out, jazziz.com, our one of my first podcast episodes, and I'm eternally grateful.
You made me feel comfortable, so I said, whatever way we can do this.
I made you feel comfortable because I'm so scrawny and pale, and you were yoked at the time, man. So you were looking good.
Well, I'm a yogi now, so I'm flexible.
It's strength and flexibility is what it's all about. That's right. Power and flexibility. Emmet Cohen, always a pleasure to talk to you, my friend.
My pleasure, Brian. Thank you.
Not just as a musician, you have become really a good friend, and it's nice to catch up with you. It's nice to see your face, man.
I mean, you're not a self-promoter, but I will say we developed this friendship, and part of my Master's Legacy series is involving people on both spectrums of the age. Of the extreme ages, and so it'll be all the jazz masters. And I think for the second album, Ron Carter had Dan Morgenstern write the liner notes, who's 91 years old, something like that, and went back and forth with him. And then I said, for Volume 3, I want to incorporate somebody young to write the liner notes. And I thought, all right, Brian Zimmerman, you're the guy. And so we got a chance to work together on that, and I think it's really important to include the younger generation as well. And so thanks for being a part of it in that capacity. Really
My pleasure, man. And as you mentioned, these albums are available on your site. How can people follow you? What else you got going on? And is there anything else you want to let people know about before we finish up this jazz brunch?
I think the most important thing is just to keep taking care of the music and supporting the jazz musicians in whatever way possible. It is a tough time, but I think with the unity and with the internet and all the tools we have at our disposal, we'll be able to get through it, and come out stronger on the other side, and with a renewed faith in humanity, that everyone is the same, no matter whether you're Tom Hanks or Prince Harry or Rand Paul or somebody in Rikers Island. This is a great equalizer of sorts, and it's really crazy to be living in a time when we experience that. So I would say that if anyone wants to follow up, emmetcohen.com, which is EMMETCOHEN.com, or Facebook.com/HeyEmmet. That's HeyEmmet. And if you go to my website, you can find an exclusive membership program too. It's called Emmet Cohen Exclusive, and I have a portal on the website if you subscribe, where you can go in and find exclusive content, unreleased videos. I just put an EP up from 2016 with Joe Saylor and Russell Hall, and some other cool things that will only be available for members. So it's a good way to get closer, support, and keep this flame going.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Emmet Cohen, thank you again. Really, truly. It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for having brunch with me today, man. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
We will see you 7:30 live from your living room, folks.
Yeah, we're doing 7:30 on every Monday now. So we hope you guys will tune in. Thank you so much.
Cool beans. Emmet, stay healthy, stay safe, man. Appreciate the call.
You too. Take care, Brian.
Bye.